Farrakhan was being prophetic when he was talking about Trump.
If we look at our president, now he has a little fever because he wants to be a king, and because he has a feeling that he is greater than a president. He does not desire to be bound by that which the founding fathers have set up. So when Mr. Trump said, let's make America great again, they say he means let's make America really white again. I pray that God will show you his hand, because they never expected Trump to win. But he won against all the odds because God put him there to dismantle this house. And he's doing a good job. Day by day. President Trump is literally destroying the republic that the founding fathers wanted to guide and gird it against what they suffered in Europe from kings. Mr. President, please be careful, because you're upsetting a lot of people. This is a country that kills presidents. It'll be the worst mistake that anyone makes to try to kill the president of the United States. He has a work to do. That's right. Does he? What kind of work does God have for him to do? He's doing it.
I just want to say to everyone out there that I am sincerely sorry for ever having voted for Donald Trump, given this war that's going on and everything else in our country. I mean, this is just a bridge too far. He's going to war on feelings and instincts, which really means that he's just winging it. He has no idea what he's doing, what he's talking about. And now we have a ground war starting in Iran. This is going to be Iraq 2.0, and we're just doing it on behalf of the Israeli government. They've been wanting this probably since the 1980s, I'd imagine. So it's just too much. And I'm sorry to everyone out there that I ever voted for this guy. And
that's really all we can ask for at this point. And I would also ask for, get out here and vote in the midterms. Do not vote for MAGA candidates. I would ask that. And then, listen, the 2028 presidential election is a lot closer than we all think. Right after the midterms, that's all that's going to be talked about. So do your due diligence and say, okay, I made a mistake. I admit that myself. I never liked Donald Trump. I never voted for Donald Trump, but I also didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. And I owned that. And, a year into his presidency, not even, I said, man, I made a mistake. And I said, I would never make that same mistake again.
You see, when your very own people, supporters, your fan base begin to question your decisions, it is usually automatically time to check on, whether you're still in line with the people. But I wonder if that is really the case with Donald Trump, because something is shifting in America, and this time it seems it's not very quiet. For quite some time right now, critics warned about, Donald Trump, calling him very unconventional, disruptive, and even sometimes calling him outright dangerous, But today, the noise isn't just coming from critics or from opponents or people that don't agree with him, but it's even coming from his own people, people that believed in Donald Trump. From economic decisions that are shaking households to foreign policies and diplomatic issues that are unsettling globally, to a leadership style that many describe as more like a punitive and not very tolerant, especially if you are not in agreement with it. The question is no longer, is this normal? But actually, if you observe, the question is, how far can this go? How far can America under Donald Trump, under this regime, really go? And many Americans, many voices like Louis Farrakhan have been warning about this for many years. So let's watch some of these videos I have prepared for you, and with a critical mind, and we'll be back with some good analysis.
If we look at our president, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes to us that there's no such word in the Bible of president, not presidents. Though the president is in the scripture, not as a president. Now he has a little fever because he wants to be a king, and because he has a feeling that he is greater than a president. He does not desire to be bound by that which the founding fathers have set up to be a balance for the power of the executive branch of government. So he's interfering with those institutions, not in a mean-spirited way. He just feels that he could do better if he was the lawmaker, if he were the judge. Because if the judge doesn't judge according to the way he sees it, he'll take the judge on. If the attorney general doesn't do what he thinks the head law officer in the country should do, he'll take him on. So the country is right now in great confusion because the institutions of government that were set up by the founding fathers are now being challenged by a president who really wants to operate as a king. And some of us want to be dictators. We don't want any reign on our power and force them on others that are under our authority. So that means that some of us want to be kings. So any structure that is set up to bridle the power of any office, if that office does not agree with us, there's a spirit to destroy it. So President Trump is literally destroying the republic that the founding fathers wanted to guide and gird it against what they suffered in Europe from kings. This president has seemed, as the fake news group like to call him, he's a man that is unbridled. So they say he's unpresidential. So clashing is going on among those who are responsible for government. And this is happening in all organizations. I pray that God will show you his hand, because they never expected Trump to win. But he won against all the odds because God put him there to dismantle this house. Did you hear me? And he's doing a good job. Day by day. This is the end of this wicked society. It has destroyed nations around the earth, and now it's coming home. As Brother Malcolm said in the assassination of Mr. Kennedy, it was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. May Allah bless you all, grant you safe passage back to your places of abode. I want you to think about what we have said to you, and then watch the news and watch the weather and see how God is ripping it up. And then hide yourself. Seek refuge in Allah, because that's the only hope we have to get through the dark times that we have entered. Thank you for listening. May Allah bless you all. Assalamu alaikum. Trump is an anomaly. He's someone that doesn't fit the norm. You expected a man to be like the other presidents. You wanted him to be more presidential. He's so transparent. You wanted him to put on a suit and act dignified, like the thieves and robbers that dress in suits and tell lies. You wanted him to be like that. He's telling lies, all right. And you're angry because he's your reflection. He's an anomaly. You can't make him what you desire him to be so that you can say, oh, that's my president. He wasn't made that way. God has him here. What did you say, Farrakhan? Do you think that God is not interested in who is president of the United States of America? Especially when it's out of the time of evil? It's in our time now. You Muslims who are present, in the Quran, God and Satan are having a talk, and God is saying to Satan, I've judged you to be erring. Satan knows he's wrong. Any devil knows they're wrong. So God said to Satan, as Satan asked him, respite me, delay my doom. Because Satan was doomed from the day he was made. Mr. President, please be careful, because you're upsetting a lot of people. You may win the election because the Democrats will at last put their hope in a billionaire because Mr. Biden can't handle it. What will you do if he gets a second term? What will you do? See? The hatred that's building for him because God allowed him to be president. Don't you think that God is interested in who sits in the White House that holds sway over his people that he has chosen to be his people? Let me just tie this up. See, all of us have made an agreement with hell. All of us have made a covenant with death. The pale horse of the revelation had a rider that was death, and hell followed closely behind. Everywhere the pale horse has ridden, death has come. Everywhere the white man has put his foot down on our planet, death and hell follow. Mr. Trump, please, you mentioned in some of your writings not to denigrate those who are under your leadership, that you have nicknames for everybody, and you've said some rough things to your generals. Please, Mr. President, this is a country that kills presidents. It'll be the worst mistake that anyone makes to try to kill the President of the United States. He has a work to do. That's right. Does he? What kind of work does God have for him to do? He's doing it. In fact, what is happening now in America is signaling the clouds of war to gather. And while I'm on this broadcast, I would like to send a message to our president, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we're in a period called the lull before the storm. The storm is World War III, or what is called in the Bible the War of Armageddon. In that war, which is prophesied, and we can't make the prophets liars. Everything that they prophesied in both the Bible and Quran are going to come to pass. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, knowing that there was a political dynamic at the time that he wrote this article, The Lull Before the Storm, he said, whoever should be president, it would be to his advantage to delay the war as long as he could, because it could be a great benefit to whoever would be in power. Unfortunately, President Trump has gathered around him some of the neoconservatives who are considered warmongers. And if President Trump attacks Syria under a false flag operation that President Assad killed his own people through the use of chemical warfare, if Mr. Trump goes the way he is presently going, it would be like taking a gun and putting it to his head and to the head of America and to the head of the Western world. The Western world will not survive this war. So once the war is started, the end of this present world has arrived. That is my warning to Mr. Trump. Delay it as long as you can, for as long as you can is to your benefit and to the benefit of America and all your so-called allies. Farrakhan. Are they planning war? Yes. Is it against black youth and black people?
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. I want to close with showing you the signs that I had to watch in order to know what to say to Mr. Trump today. Mr. Trump is real. He is what he is. Now you either got to see him as he is, because all the rest of them were vampires that looked good in the day, but when night came, you know. I'm going to run real quick over 6 presidents that have met with their joint chiefs of staff to plan a war in the Islamic world and to plan a war against black people and particularly black youth. And we're at the end of it now. The plan is to genocide and kill you all. Listen to me good now. I'm going to drop it in the president's lap because he's the last one.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
In the Bible, it said when that last trump is sounded.
Yes, sir. Trump. Yes, sir.
Trump. It said then the trumpet. That's your brother. And then we all will be changed from corruption into incorruptible. You can't buy us. We're incorruptible. And guess what? We've been changed from mortal into that which is immortal. Not that we can live forever, but what we're a part of will never, ever be removed from the earth. You can't say that about yourself, white folk. You come this way, there's absolution for you. You bow down and submit, there's absolution for you. You can't prove that. Well, I'm leaving now. And I tell you what, watch how the God will give a punctuation to what I said to you from him today.
Mr. Trump, you're the leader of America now. You need to try to make America safe from the wrath of God, her chastisement over the wickedness that you all have been involved in since your inception. Since you are the last of the presidents, maybe, that has a chance on your watch to delay the judgment of God. You have a secret chamber in the White House, place where you can go to pray. But Mr. Trump, I really don't see you falling down on your knees. God has to knock you down on your knees because your arrogance, the false pride in the little money you have. Can I show you something from the Quran? All that a man has of the wealth of the earth, if he had it in his hand and the like of it, they would gladly ransom it in the day of resurrection to keep the chastisement of God away from them. Mr. Trump, you won't bow down on your own, but the scripture says every knee will bow and every tongue will be forced to confess. We say it in Arabic that there is no God but Allah, and you say it that Jesus Christ is Lord.
All right, now let's be clear. This is not just about, political disagreement and political differences. This is something deeper, honestly. Right now, what we are seeing in America, we are seeing a growing number of Americans, across political lines, and they're openly expressing frustration, even raising alarm, policies around economics in the country, like the tariffs, are hitting ordinary people in ways that feel, immediate, feel urgent. Prices are rising, tension is ever present, and people's patience is growing thin. It's evaporating quickly. And then comes the foreign policy or the diplomatic side of Donald Trump, and which on the scorecard is very, 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 very low. And, uh, from aggressive rhetoric towards sovereign states, like saying we'll, take over Canada or a part of Canada, we will take over Greenland, or even abducting a president of a sovereign state like Venezuela, to very controversial, stances on global conflicts. Many Americans feel like the country is stepping into very unnecessary storms rather than just avoiding it. That Donald Trump is tearing the country into unnecessary, storms that it would rather avoid and remain peaceful. And perhaps most concerning for many observers is the pattern of leadership style being, depicted or shown by Donald Trump. For example, if there is a disagreement with him, you're out. If you criticize, if even if on just a fair point of view, you're dismissed. And if you show any opposition, you're labeled as a problem. And it doesn't matter if you're a judge of the court, they dismiss you. If you're in the army, he doesn't care, because he looks like he does not tolerate opposition. To critics, this doesn't look like strength. If Donald Trump feels like that is a show of strength, but that's more like control. And this is exactly where voices like Louis Farrakhan, amongst many Americans, step in, not just to criticize, but to actually warn. To say this isn't just about one man. It is about the general direction towards which the country is moving into. And you see, right there, that's the heart of the problem. What we are witnessing isn't just about policy, but it's more about power and power dynamics. When leadership begins to centralize authority around one person, and kind of like silence opposition, silence any dissenting voices, and frame loyalty as the ultimate virtue, that you have to agree whether it's good, whether the policies are oppressive, you have to agree. That's the problem. And history starts to whisper some familiar stories, and America is picking up. Americans are picking up on it. They're quite noticing this. Even some of the most loyal supporters, people who once stood firmly behind the MAGA movement, are now questioning certain decisions by their own president. And that's significant, because when the base, the very foundation of MAGA, begins to question, to fracture, it tells you that something deeper is happening. And just beneath the surface, it's unhealthy, even for the movement itself. And then there is the narrative that many critics have actually pushed for many years, and that MAGA in itself, Make America Great Again, was never about economic revival exactly, but it's about restoring a certain version of America that many may feel it excludes people. In fact, many Americans have come out to openly equate Make America Great Again to Make America White Again. That really shows you that people are not in agreement with such slogans and what it really entails. So whether one really agrees or disagrees with these kind of interpretations, perception in itself is powerful, and perception in politics often turns to become more like reality. So where does this really leave America? That is the question. And I think I'd argue it leaves America at a crossroads. One side, because you have supporters who still believe that this disruption is necessary, that shaking the system is the only way to fix it. There are people who still really believe in him, in Donald Trump and his system and his regime. But on the other side, you have an ever-growing number of voices warning that this isn't reform. It's regression. It's going backwards. And that the signs like economic strains, diplomatic tensions, internal divisions, and leadership intolerance to especially people that don't agree with it are pointing towards something more rigid, more controlled. And that is what authoritarianism feels like, you know. And history teaches us something very important. Nations rarely collapse suddenly or overnight, you know. It's a slow, smooth drift, you know, step by step, decision by decision, you know, until one day the change is undeniable. The change cannot be hidden or even becomes almost irreversible. So Farrakhan's warnings, or even like prophecies, you know, as controversial as they may sound sometime, tap into the fear, you know, that fear, the slow drift towards a direction undesired of the dream America is supposed to be, you know. So the real question isn't whether people are unhappy, because they are. The real question is this a temporary storm, or is it the beginning of a permanent shift for what we have known America to be? Because once a nation, you know, crosses certain lines, coming back isn't always guaranteed, and we have seen that from history. Yeah, so that's my little analysis of this. Do share with me what you think in the comment section below. If you like this video, if you like this kind of content, give this video a thumbs up, and please subscribe to the channel if you're new here, if it is your first time, and I'll really appreciate. So with that, I'll see you in the next video.